Would you risk everything to save a friend? While you think about it, let's recap everything from the One Piece Water 7 saga. The story continues with the Straw Hats returning safely to the Blue Sea as the octopus balloon deflates, feeling as if their Skypia adventure was a dream. A massive tidal wave and the sea monkeys appear, forcing them to move the Going Merry. While checking their treasures, they learn most dials work in the Blue Sea except the Cloud Dial, and soon realize the Merry is heavily damaged. Usopp admits he protected the ship but cannot repair it, so Luffy decides their next crewmate must be a shipwright, then a musician. The crew escapes from the sea monkeys and the tidal wave. Usopp spots a ship and thinks it is an enemy, but as they approach, Luffy warns them about the wave. The other crew is in chaos, lacking a navigator, captain, flag, and sails. Robin mentions seeing an island earlier, and the crew heads toward Long Ring Long Land. Meanwhile, in Mocktown, Bellamy and Sarquis fight. Their true leader Doflamingo has returned, furious that his symbol was mocked. Bellamy begs for forgiveness, but Doflamingo forces Sarquis to attack. As Bellamy screams, Doflamingo declares a new age where only the strong pirates survive. At Long Ring Long Land, the Straw Hats are shocked by the island's long-legged animals. They find a tall white horse and an old man named Tonjit, who was knocked down by Luffy after getting stuck on a 10-year stilt experiment. Tonjit explains the island's strange animals and his separation from his tribe. Inside his home, Tonjit realizes his village and cattle are gone, gets sick from spoiled milk turned cheese, and explains that reuniting with his tribe would take 20 years on foot, but only 5 with his horse, Shelly. Reunited, they prepare to cross the plains when the tide lowers. Suddenly, Shelly is shot, and the attackers reveal themselves as Foxy, Portia, and Hamburg of the Foxy Pirates. Foxy challenges Luffy to a Davy back fight, and Luffy immediately accepts, despite Usopp's panic over losing crewmates. The challenge is locked in. As Chopper treats Shelly, Robin explains the Davy back fight is a pirate game where crews steal members or flags over 3 rounds. The Straw Hats realize a broken crew they saw earlier lost this game. Despite Nami's protests, the guns fire, the match begins, and Luffy declares he will defeat Foxy. The ceremony begins, the rules are explained, and Foxy announces the start of the game by offering a coin to Davy Jones. Robin explains Davy Jones is a cursed pirate who steals everything that sinks to the seafloor. The crew split for the 3 rounds, starting with the donut race. As the race begins, the Foxy Pirates interfere from the audience, blasting the Straw Hats' boat into the air, but they narrowly escape a falling boulder. Sanji fights back against the cheaters. Capote uses Fishman Karate, but Robin restrains him and throws him into Manda. The Straw Hats use the impact dial to gain speed and take the lead, while Porsche plans to sink them near the Long Coral area, Long Whirlpool, and Long Cape, as Foxy prepares more tricks from shore. Foxy orders Hamburg ahead, while Luffy is distracted by food, Sanji by Foxy's women, Chopper by sweets, and Zoro by rum. Near the Long Coral area, Nami slows the Taru Tiger while the Cuddy Wagon rushes forward, trapping Manda in the currents. Using smoke and her knowledge of the maze-like whirlpools, Nami guides the crew safely through and has Usopp launch the ship over the whirlpool with the impact dial. The Cuddy Wagon recovers by using Capote inside Manda's mouth to smash through the corals. At a false sign, Nami destroys it and goes straight, tricking Foxy again. They reach the Long Ripple, where Foxy pretends to be helpless, but Nami ignores him. Usopp spots a fake finish line, which Nami destroys, realizing the real goal is elsewhere. Unable to use the impact dial again, the Straw Hats press on as the Cuddy Wagon stops at the fake finish. Nami reminds everyone that losing means losing a crewmate and reveals the true finish at the Long Bamboo shore. Portia orders an attack, but falling bamboo injures Capote. And although Portia damages the Taru Tiger with her weapons, the Straw Hats push forward. As Hamburg and Manda close in, Foxy fires the Noro Noro beam, slowing their ship at the last moment. The donut race ends with the Foxy Pirates' victory, and Foxy reveals his devil fruit, the Noro Noro no Mi, which slows anything it hits. He ends the round and chooses Chopper as his prize, mocking him as a pet and forcing him to wear a mask. The Straw Hats are devastated, but Zoro harshly tells Chopper that this was their choice as pirates. Round 2 begins with the undefeated Groggy Monsters. Zoro and Sanji fight for the Straw Hats, but are mocked, and Sanji is forced to be the ball. Weapons are banned, so Zoro drops his swords. Despite constant arguing, the match starts. Pickles charges, Big Pan's slippery body throws Sanji off balance, and Hamburg and Pickles control him. Zoro and Sanji counter and throw Hamburg and Pickles out, then argue again. The referee ignores Big Pan's hidden weapons. He traps them. Pickles and Hamburg return armed, and Big Pan throws them into the air. Pickles spins Hamburg, who slams Zoro with elbow guards. Zoro is badly injured and Itomamizu declares him dead. The assault continues. Pickles is fired into Sanji, Hamburg hits him mid-air, and Big Pun smashes him down. The Foxy Pirates celebrate, believing the match is over. Zoro and Sanji, still conscious, agree to cooperate for 10 seconds. As Itomamizu prepares to end the match, they stand up again, earning cheers from Luffy and Usopp. Foxy orders the Monster Burger. The monsters reveal illegal weapons, which the referee ignores despite Nami's protests. Luffy tries to interfere but is stopped. Sanji mocks them and kicks Hamburg into Big Pun, crushing him. Pickles attacks, but Zoro stops him and throws him into Big Pun. Sanji knocks Big Pan upright again, and Pickles crashes into the referee, injuring him. Nami has stolen all the red cards, and Robin teases her. Zoro jumps onto Sanji's leg, uses his kick to launch himself, grabs Big Pan by the mouth, and slams him through the goal. The Straw Hats win round 2. The referee blows the whistle, and Luffy earns the right to choose someone from Foxy's crew. Nami suggests choosing Foxy to win instantly and get Chopper back, angering the Foxy Pirates until she shuts them up. Robin warns Luffy that choosing Foxy is easy, but no one wants him on the ship. Luffy chooses Chopper instead, bringing him back. Foxy despairs, but his crew urges him to win round 3. He warns the Straw Hats that losing means losing forever. Luffy confidently says he won't. A cannon selects Foxy's ship as the arena for the final battle. A 50-meter area around the ship where all weapons are allowed, but only the fighters may enter, while fireworks and smoke reveal giant bounty posters of Luffy and Foxy. Itomamizu announces the final battle between the captains. Luffy appears with an afro and flaming skull tattoo. Usopp coaches him as the crowd cheers. Nami warns about the Noro Noro beam. At the bell, Luffy attacks with Gomu Gomu no pistol, but Foxy slows him with the beam. The more Luffy struggles, the slower he moves. Foxy fires again. Luffy's movements and speech are delayed. Using Foxy Rush, the delayed damage sends Luffy flying, but he grabs the ship. He fights carefully, chasing Foxy across the ship while dodging arrows and cannonballs. Foxy uses decoys, face bombs, trap rooms, disguises, and a mirror machine to slow and trick Luffy, who survives, hits Foxy, destroys the mirror, and endures powerful attacks. Foxy traps Luffy with the Noro Noro beam sword, repeatedly attacking, but Luffy rises each time for his friends. Riding a slowed cannonball, Foxy launches a final attack. Luffy breaks free and counters with Gomu Gomu no Gatling. Foxy fires another beam, but a mirror piece in Luffy's afro reflects it, freezing Foxy. Luffy finishes with Gomu Gomu no Flail, winning. The Foxy Pirates are stunned. Itomamizu declares Luffy the winner. The Straw Hats celebrate while Foxy's crew saves him. Usopp pokes Luffy until Chopper scolds him. Sanji and Nami joke about Luffy's afro. Luffy asks if he won, then relaxes. Foxy offers a handshake, tries to attack but fails. He gives up and ends the fight. Itomamizu allows Luffy to choose a member, but he takes only the Foxy Pirates flag, shocking everyone, making Nami relieved. Luffy promises to redraw their Jolly Roger, earning praise despite the flag's poor look. The Foxy Pirates leave aboard the Sexy Foxy, vowing revenge. Afterward, the Straw Hats check on Tanjit and Shelly. Luffy celebrates their victory, Chopper treats Shelly, and Nami offers a ride to reunite them with their tribe. Usopp explains the islands are connected, so the log pose cannot guide them separately. A man suddenly wakes up and asks who they are. The Straw Hats are confused, but Robin collapses in fear. They get ready to fight. The man reveals himself as Admiral Aokiji and notes how much Robin has grown. When Luffy asks if Robin knows him, Aokiji says they met before and explains he is not on duty, just taking a walk. Robin explains that Aokiji is a Marine Admiral, one of the strongest officers. Usopp panics. Aokiji ignores him, flirts with Nami, and angers Sanji. He talks about his lazy justice and says he only came to confirm Robin's location after Alabasta so he could report it. He gives up counting their bounties because he finds it too troublesome. Luffy tries to attack to protect Robin, but Usopp stops him. Aokiji repeats that he does not plan to fight and prepares to leave. Before going, he tells Tanjit to get ready, revealing he overheard his plan. Luffy protests at first, then realizes Aokiji wants to help. Aokiji explains how to cross during low tide, and despite Shelly's injury, Robin confirms Aokiji can assist. At the shore, Aokiji touches the sea. A Sea King appears, but Aokiji uses Ice Age, freezing the entire ocean instantly. Robin explains he has a Logia-type devil fruit. Aokiji says the ice will last about a week, and Tanjit thanks him happily. Aokiji suddenly becomes serious and mentions Luffy's grandfather, unsettling him. He says the world government does not yet see the Straw Hats as a major threat, but he does. He warns that their growth, willpower, and Robin's presence make them dangerous. He questions Robin, bringing up her past betrayals and asking if the Straw Hats are only tools to her. Angry, Robin attacks Aokiji and shatters his body, but he reforms from ice. He creates an ice sword and attacks. Zoro blocks it, Sanji kicks him, and Luffy strikes, but Aokiji instantly freezes them at the same time. Nami realizes he has defeated all three at once. Chopper warns that the frozen injuries must be treated immediately. Aokiji tells Robin she has good friends, but says she has not changed. Robin disagrees, but Aokiji suddenly hugs her and freezes her completely. He tells Luffy that Robin can survive if thawed carefully, warning that her body is extremely fragile. Aokiji pretends to demonstrate this by trying to smash her. Luffy saves Robin at the last moment, and Usopp moves her away, taking the hit himself. Luffy orders them to take Robin back to the ship to thaw her. Aokiji tells them not to bother. Nami attacks him in anger but is easily defeated. Zoro and Sanji step in, but Luffy stops them and asks to fight Aokiji alone. Aokiji agrees, warning it will be a fight to the death. On the ship, Robin begins to recover. Zoro, Sanji, and Nami return without Luffy and explain that he stayed behind. Meanwhile, Luffy fights Aokiji and lands strong attacks, but Aokiji eventually freezes him completely and ends the fight. He says Luffy will one day understand the danger of traveling with Robin, then leaves, sparing him because of past events involving Crocodile. Zoro and Sanji find Luffy still alive and bring him back. Chopper later announces that both Luffy and Robin are stable but need rest. The crew stays in place for the day, and Robin later wakes up safely. Soon after, they spot a strange frog and chase it, changing course. Suddenly, they approach a lighthouse and railroad signals as a train speeds toward them, forcing Nami to panic and order full reverse. The crew followed a frog underwater and were almost hit by a train on the water, which sent the frog flying. Amazed, they reached a nearby station and met the station master Kokoro, her granddaughter Chimney, and a pet rabbit that acted like a cat. Kokoro explained that the frog, Yokozuna, was fine and liked testing itself against the train, a sea train called Puffing Tom, connecting nearby islands. She told them their log pose would lead to Water 7, a city of shipwrights, and to ask a man named Iceberg for help. Arriving at Water 7, the crew sailed through the canals, guided by locals, to dock the ship. Luffy, Nami, and Usopp went to exchange Skypia gold for 300 million and find a shipwright using creatures called Yagaras to navigate, while Robin and Chopper explored. Robin countered CP9, shocking her, and she disappeared before Chopper returned. And Sanji went alone, leaving Zoro on the ship. Bounty hunters came for the Going Merry, but underestimated Zoro and were defeated. Luffy's group exchanged the gold and met Kaku, a foreman, who inspected their ship with incredible speed. Iceberg, mayor of Water 7 and president of Galley Law Company, and his secretary Khalifa soon appeared and agreed to repair the ship. But they discovered all the money was stolen. Polly, another foreman, accidentally helped recover it, but Lucci stopped him. Iceberg explained the thieves were the Frankie family, led by a cyborg named Frankie. Sanji saw Robin with the masked man, but lost her. Usopp was attacked by the Frankie family and lost 200 million. Government officials visit Iceberg while Nami and Luffy hide. A few minutes later, they leave, and a lead official hints that Iceberg has something important. Kaku revealed the Going Merry was beyond repair. Luffy ran into the city while Nami returned to the ship to explain the situation. Khalifa then talks to Iceberg about this it, confirming he possesses it. A wanted poster of young Nico Robin is shown on Iceberg's office wall. Meanwhile, the Frankie family prepared the stolen money for Frankie. Usopp burst in to demand it back, but was quickly overwhelmed. The Straw Hats discover an unconscious Usopp outside the Frankie house. Seeing him in such a state ignites their anger and they storm inside. There they find the Frankie family, high on money and celebrating wildly. When one member is punched, the others panic, but their confidence quickly returns, only to vanish again when Luffy smashes through steel armor. The Straw Hats swiftly defeat the Frankie family and destroy their base, though Frankie escapes with most of the stolen money. Facing the damage to the Going Merry, Luffy decides it's time to abandon the ship and acquire a new one. Usopp is enraged, prompting Luffy to explain that the Merry cannot be repaired after the damage she has sustained. Refusing to accept this, Usopp believes Luffy has abandoned the Merry. Usopp leaves the crew and challenges Luffy to a duel for the ship that night. Despite attempts to reason, the duel goes ahead. The fight is intense, with Usopp using tricks and clever attacks to slow Luffy and cause real damage, forcing Luffy to struggle and adapt. Despite Usopp's skill and strategy, Luffy ultimately overpowers him and wins the duel. Luffy lets Usopp keep the Going Merry while the rest of the crew leaves the ship. The next morning, Water 7 panicked over Iceberg being attacked. Luffy and Nami went to see the mayor, while others searched for Robin. Frankie, returning, found the Straw Hats were behind the damage and sent word to his gang. Iceberg woke, identifying his attackers, a masked man and Robin. The city also faced the annual high tide, Aqua Laguna. At Dock 1, Frankie taunts Luffy about attacking his gang and destroying his house. Nami wants the money back, but Frankie says he already spent it. Luffy, unfazed, seeks revenge. Frankie unleashes a massive fire attack, leaps into the water, and crashes into the boat, sending Luffy and Nami flying. Using his strong right, he flings Luffy across the water and into a wall. Nami realizes Frankie hasn't eaten a devil fruit. He's a cyborg with robotic parts. Galley Law Company foreman interfered but soon attacked Luffy, blaming the Straw Hats for the attempt on Iceberg. Frankie unleashed his ultimate attack, coup de vent, destroying the dock. Luffy and Nami escape to verify Robin's involvement. Luffy decides to check if Iceberg was telling the truth about Robin attacking him. He breaks into Iceberg's building, dodging the shipwrights as he searches for the mayor. When they meet, Iceberg confirms that he saw Robin and pulls a gun, demanding to see her. Luffy says he does not know where she is, and Iceberg fires, drawing attention. Luffy escapes before the workers arrive. Elsewhere, Sanji and Chopper find Robin. She says the darkness inside her will endanger the crew and declares that she is leaving. Sanji tells Chopper to return and inform the others, while he stays behind. Zoro, Nami, and Chopper reunite and suspect the masked man is forcing Robin's actions, though Zoro warns against false hope. Expecting another attack that night, they decide to confront her. Meanwhile, Frankie kidnaps Usopp and steals the Going Merry to draw Luffy out. At Galila headquarters, Iceberg calls Polly in. Afterward, Polly leaves his post and opens a hidden safe. Masked men, including Robin, stormed the building. Nami, Chopper, and Zoro broke in, but Luffy was stuck between two buildings. The man with Robin, wearing a bear mask, entered Iceberg's room and shot him, leaving Robin to finish the job. Iceberg revealed the attackers were CP9, targeting the blueprints of the ancient weapon, Pluton, which Iceberg inherited. Meanwhile, Polly takes the blueprints from Iceberg's safe, but encounters two men wearing bowls and skull masks. Polly attacks them but is quickly defeated. It turns out the blueprints were fake. Using Den Den Mushi, the other CP9 agents gather at Iceberg's room. Luffy breaks in but is caught off guard by CP9's powers, including air blades from their legs. Luffy and Polly are pinned, but Luffy escapes and frees Polly. The four CP9 agents reveal themselves: Lucci, Kaku, Secretary Khalifa, and bar owner Blueno. Iceberg refuses to cooperate with CP9. Lucci checks Iceberg's pulse and confirms his theory. Iceberg inherited the Pluton blueprints from shipwright Tom. CP9 believed Tom's other apprentice, Cutty Flam, died under a sea train, but he actually lives as Frankie in Water 7. Iceberg's pulse quickens, proving Lucci right. CP9 prepares to chase Frankie when Luffy, Polly, Zoro, Chopper, and Nami break in. Polly attacks Lucci but is beaten. CP9 demonstrates Rokushiki, 6 martial arts techniques that make them superhuman. Robin leaves, saying she has a wish she cannot achieve with them. CP9 sets a firebomb. Lucci shows his devil fruit power, the Neko Niko no Mi model. Luffy and Zoro attack, but Lucci throws them across the island. The building catches fire with Iceberg and Polly unconscious, Nami thrown outside, and Chopper buried under rubble. CP9 leaves, encountering Frankie family members who taunt them about Usopp and the ship being captive. Lucci beats them for information and heads for Frankie's hideout. At Frankie's hideout, Usopp fixes the ship while Frankie and his assistants cry. Usopp says he plans to return to Syrup Village after a bit more adventure, but Frankie warns the ship is too damaged. To prove it, Frankie throws Usopp in the water under the ship. Even so, Usopp keeps repairing it, revealing he saw a mysterious figure in Skypiea, repairing the ship after Priest Shura damaged it, which he thinks was the Going Merry's soul. Frankie confirms the Kleboterman, a ship spirit, exists and saves crews if the ship loves them. They discuss whether to leave a friend behind, but before finishing, 4 CP9 agents break in and knock out the assistants. Frankie recognizes them as Galley Law Company, but Lucci reveals they are government agents who know he is Cutty Flam and that they killed Iceberg. Frankie is knocked into a workshop, the old place where Tom's workers built ships. CP9 searches for the Pluton blueprints, but Frankie tells them to leave. A quick flashback shows young Frankie building ships and being attacked by a Sea King, while young Iceberg scolds him for always creating weapons. Tom, the skilled pufferfish shipwright, constructs ships flawlessly as Kokoro prepares meals. The island's shipbuilders argue over customers, and with the rising water, the city teeters on the edge of sinking. Tom devises a solution. After Gold D. Rogers' execution, a judiciary ship arrives to arrest Tom, but he declares he will build a sea train to connect the islands. The judge grants him 10 years to complete it. A decade later, Puffing Tom launches successfully. CP5 agents led by Spandam appear but are repelled by Frankie's cannons. Spandam confronts Tom, demanding the Pluton blueprints, yet Tom refuses. Later, Tom entrusts the blueprints to Iceberg and Frankie. The next day, a judiciary ship returns for Tom's retrial, and ships built by Frankie attack Water 7. The blame falls on Tom, and Frankie tries to intervene. Spandam claims he saved everyone, and Frankie protests, prompting Tom to punch him to make a point. A ship must be loved by its creator. Tom strikes at Spandam but is tranquilized. He requests that the sea train incident be erased, so he will face execution only for building the Oro Jackson, sparing Frankie and Iceberg. Frankie retaliates with a tranquilizer gun and escapes, while Tom boards the sea train to Enies Lobby, and Frankie fires at it from along the track. But the train does not stop. In present, Frankie and Usopp are restrained by CP9. Spandam, wounded, threatens Frankie, and CP9 arrests Usopp for claiming to be a pirate. Kaku releases the Going Merry into Aqua Laguna's storm, where it breaks apart. At galley headquarters, Iceberg and Polly, saved by Chopper and Nami, regain consciousness. Iceberg tells the other shipwrights to leave and reveals Robin warned him CP9 could call a fleet to destroy the island, using a buster call if she did not obey. Robin's goal is to keep the Straw Hats safe. Nami wakes Chopper. Polly tells the others the pirates were not the attackers. Nami works to stop the sea train with galley workers, while Chopper searches for Luffy and Zoro. At Blue Station, CP9 boards the sea train with prisoners, observed by Sanji. The storm forces the train to depart early. Sanji sneaks on board, leaving a note for the crew. Nami now looks for a ship to chase them, but Polly warns it's too dangerous during Aqua Laguna. Kokoro watches the sea, noticing the unusually far retreat of the water. Chimney spots something in the alleys. Luffy stuck between two buildings. Chopper sees Zoro stuck in a chimney. Both Nami and Chopper leap across buildings to rescue Luffy and Zoro, with Chopper handing Zoro his sword. Nami yells to Luffy that Robin gave up her life so they could escape the government. Luffy pushes apart the buildings he was stuck between, and Zoro slices the chimney he was trapped in, just as the first wave of Aqua Laguna crashes toward them. They barely reach higher ground, but are engulfed by another wave. Polly pulls them up, and they climb to even higher ground, learning the full situation. On Puffing Tom, Sanji wonders how to get inside. A government agent appears, comments on the storm, and notices Sanji. Sanji attacks immediately, kicking the agent into the train. Other agents draw their guns and confront him. Sanji gets inside, but the agents threaten to shoot. One tries to contact Lucci, but a large man steps in, saying CP9 should not be bothered by such a small issue. He introduces himself as Jerry, an undefeated boxing champion from the South Blue. Sanji is unimpressed. Jerry attacks with a rapid punch barrage, but misses and hits the other agents instead. He mocks Sanji and changes his stance. Sanji angrily says Jerry only made his range shorter. Jerry claims it was planned and tries a drill kick, but misses. Sanji defeats him instantly with Brochette, shocking the agents. Back at Water 7, Luffy decides to chase Robin by ship, but Polly warns no ship can survive Aqua Laguna. Kokoro says only a sea train could do it, and leads them to the old prototype, Rocket Man, with Iceberg finishing maintenance. Luffy and Zoro recover by eating meat and sake provided by Nami and conductors. Before leaving, the Frankie family appears, tearfully asking to join to rescue Frankie. Luffy agrees. The train launches into Aqua Laguna with the Frankie's cart attached, boosting speed. Polly reveals the assassins' identities and forms an alliance with the Straw Hats, Galley Company, and Frankie family. Meanwhile, Iceberg remembers a brief flashback where he is told that Cutty Flam wants to see him and is clearly shocked. That night, he secretly meets Frankie and learns that Frankie rebuilt his body after it was destroyed by the sea train. They argue about the past and Tom's death, with Iceberg admitting that he still hasn't forgiven Frankie. In the end, Iceberg gives Frankie the Pluton blueprints, tells him to abandon the name Cutty Flam, and leave Water 7 to protect them. Though worried, Frankie refuses to leave, and Iceberg tearfully admits that he is glad Frankie is alive. In present on Puffing Tom, Sanji frees Usopp and Frankie from the next car after convincing Frankie is trustworthy. They climb toward Captain T-Bone's station and use a Den Mushi to contact Nami. Back on Rocketman, a huge wave approaches. Luffy and Zoro perform their ultimate combo, Gomu Gomu no Sanbyaku Pound Cannon, blasting a tunnel and saving the train. On Puffing Tom, Frankie wants to help rescue Robin, but Usopp refuses, saying he's no longer a part of the crew. Meanwhile, T-Bone and the Marines search for the escaped criminals. A Marine spots Sanji and Frankie outside the train, but he is suddenly shot into the water. The shooter reveals himself as Soga King, claiming Usopp told him everything and is willing to help. Sanji and Frankie see through his disguise but remain silent. On the Rocketman, Zoro notices Nami's new weapon. She explains it's the perfect climate tact, modified by Usopp before he left. Nami and Luffy feel disappointed by Usopp's work, but Zoro angrily tells them not to lose spirit. Back at Puffing Tom, in Train Car 6, T-Bone and the Marines search for Sanji, Franky, and Soga King. The trio briefly taunts them at the door, then escapes as Soga King delays them. T-Bone cuts the door open, but they have already fled to the roof. He realizes their plan, yet it's too late. The cars are locked and detached. Wanze blocks the way and challenges the group. Franky's shots and Sanji's kicks fail as Wanze dodges easily. Sanji sends Franky and Soga King ahead and stays behind to fight. Wanze attacks using noodle techniques and even creates a ramen battlesuit, angering Sanji by using food to fight. After a fierce exchange, Sanji switches tactics, uses kitchen knives, and overwhelms Wanze. On the roof of the Puffing Tom, Franky faces Nero, who uses Rokushiki techniques like Soru, Geppo, and Rankyaku. Their fight is fast and brutal, with neither fully understanding the other's abilities. Franky endures Nero's attacks and counters with his own weapons. Meanwhile, Soga King reaches Robin's car and reveals he came to save her, telling her that the Straw Hats are coming. He asks her to escape with him, but Robin refuses, believing she cannot be saved. Even so, Soga King declares that the crew will chase her anywhere, even to hell. When a government agent enters, Soga King hides and Robin pretends everything is normal. On the Rocket Man, Luffy spots the abandoned train cars. On the abandoned train cars, Marines and government agents notice the approaching train. Luffy jumps onto it with Gomu Gomu no Rocket. Bullets bounce off his rubber body. He learns Robin and the others aren't there and tells Zoro to cut up the train car. Zoro slices it, leaving the Marines stranded. Ahead, they see a split Sea King, surprising everyone. On the tracks, T-Bone rushes after Puffing Tom to catch up. Zanbai recognizes him as the Navy's ship slasher, capable of cutting any ship. He challenges Zoro, who blocks T-Bone's Chokaku Hicho, Bone Odori attack, and defeats him. T-Bone complements Zoro's strength while floating in the water. On Puffing Tom, Soga King hides inside Robin's coat while Corgi sniffs around, suspicious of pirates. In Train Car 4, Sanji defeats Wanze after a fierce battle, punishing him for disrespecting food and friends. On the roof, Franky fights Nero, using his strength, Centaur mode, and clever tactics to dodge attacks and counter. Soga King creates a smokescreen, grabs Robin, and separates the train cars. Franky refuses to run, and Sanji notes the smokescreen surprised CP9. Khalifa's Whip and Blueno pull their car in. Sanji tells Soga King to protect Robin and attacks Blueno, stunning him with Konkosei. Robin knocks out Soga King, confusing Sanji. Franky holds off CP9, telling Sanji and Soga King to return to Luffy while he stays. Blueno appears behind Sanji with Rankyaku, striking him. Sanji's attacks are blocked, but Robin restrains Blueno, promising she won't escape, and chooses to stay on Puffing Tom to protect the Straw Hats. Sanji asks why, and Blueno explains that years ago an island was destroyed, with Robin as the sole child survivor. Sanji tries to attack, but Blueno vanishes through his air door. The train soon departs toward Enies Lobby. Yokozuna derails Rocketman, angering Luffy and separating the Franky family's car. Kokoro talks to the frog, who joins them to rescue Franky. Quickly, the Franky family boards the cars alongside Sanji and Soga King. Sanji tells the others how Franky risked himself to save Robin, leaving them moved. Luffy and the Rocketman crew quickly catch up, and Luffy notices Sanji and wonders about the mysterious Soga King. Polly reveals that the Gates of Justice are located at the far back, and the only way to get to them is to go through the Tower of Justice. Luffy wonders what is the big hole, and Polly says it's the waterfall. Polly says that if they don't rescue Robin and Franky before they pass through the Gates of Justice, then it's all over. The sky clears and Enies Lobby appears. Luffy quickly has gone missing, and the Rubberman has already launched himself into Enies Lobby. The Marines and government agents spot him. The Franky family charge in riding on Sodom and Gomorrah and blast away at some Marines. Spandam receives a report with the Marines saying there are a bunch of people charging through the main gate, and they need reinforcements. Luffy asks Marines to let him pass, but one attacks. He dodges and uses Gomu Gomu no Makata Robo to control the Marine, taking out others. Luffy escapes over the second gate, leaving the Marines behind. Spandam demands to know what is going on from the gatekeeper. However, the gatekeeper has been knocked out. As the members of the Franky family proceed, they are ambushed by the two giants Kashi and Oimo. With Mozu and Kiwi's ship's bottom dismantling cut, Polly's rope action, and Zanbai's bazooka, Kashi is finally defeated. He is then nailed down by Peeply Lulu and Tilestone. Oimo then takes on the remaining fighters, while Luffy takes out 500 soldiers on his own. Meanwhile, the members of CP9 meet together in the first full reunion in 5 years. After CP9 finishes fighting, Spandam praises them for capturing Robin and Cutty Flam, promising a reward later. Meanwhile, Robin recalls her happy moments with the Straw Hats. On the streets, Luffy defeats more Marines, tearing a wall and using Gatling gun to send rubble flying everywhere. Baskerville sends 100 men from the Watchdog unit to the area. At the gate, Oimo is distracted by the Frankie family while Mozu and Kiwi manage to unlock the gate. Meanwhile, the Rocket Man finally reaches Enies Lobby. Yokozuna pushes on the gate, allowing the Rocket Man to ride over the fence. The train is sent flying into the air. Meanwhile, the Frankie family finally defeats Oimo. The Straw Hats try to catch up with Luffy. Zoro notices they're being followed as Marines surround them, but Sodom, Gamora, Galila, and the Frankie family help the Straw Hats escape and fight the Marines. Meanwhile, Spandam reveals Aokiji allowed the Buster call, punching Robin when she questions it. Spandam asks what the CP9 wants, and Lucci explained they want blood, and they have the right to kill people because they are with the government. Sodom and Gamora come and rampage over the Marines. Luffy gets cornered by the Marines, so to escape he goes on the roof. Meanwhile, the Straw Hats now notice that Soga King is not with them. Oimo wakes crying and Soga King asks why. Oimo explains that he and Kashi's bosses left a little garden for a competition and never returned. After 50 years, they tried to rescue them but were tricked by the world government into serving at Enies Lobby for 100 years. Soga King reveals that Dory and Brogy have been fighting ever since. Meanwhile, Sodom and Gamora charge the Marines, but Sodom is hit and collapses, while the Straw Hats ride Gamora to continue forward. The tables turn when the Giants reveal their purpose and Soga King appears on Kashi's shoulders. The Giants easily knock out several Marines. Meanwhile, Frankie tells Robin how lucky she is to have friends like the Straw Hats who put so much effort for her rescue and followed her to as dangerous a place as Enies Lobby. At the same time, Spandam offers Kaku and Khalifa devil fruits with unknown powers. Both Kaku and Khalifa decide to eat them. Lucci appears very satisfied that they ate the devil fruits and urges them to understand their new powers. On the roof, Luffy faces Blueno and declares that he cannot finish the fight in his current state. Luffy, using Gear 2 for the first time, enhance his body and overpower Blueno and defeat him. Luffy, exhausted from the fight, struggles with Gear 2 but knows he must keep moving forward. Meanwhile, Frankie frees himself and Robin. The Straw Hats gather together and Luffy calls out to Robin, but she refuses to be saved. She just wanted to die. Quick flashback shows 20 years in the past. Robin grows up on Ohara, isolated and mistreated while her mother is away. Despite this, she becomes an archaeology scholar at only 8 years old and dreams of studying the Forbidden Void Century. After being rejected by the scholars, she befriends Saul, who teaches her how to smile. Olvia returns to the island and warns the scholars that the world government plans to destroy Ohara, but they refuse to abandon their research. To protect her daughter, Olvia cuts ties with Robin. The world government launches a Buster Call. Professor Clover is executed after revealing the truth about an erased ancient civilization. As the Tree of Knowledge burns, Robin reunites briefly with her mother, who sends her away with Saul to escape. Saul sacrifices himself to protect Robin. Vice Admiral Kuzan, Aokiji, secretly allows her to flee, while Akainu destroys the evacuation ship. From that day on, Robin lives as a fugitive, feared by the world for simply existing. The Straw Hats silently acknowledge her fear. Spandam mocks her, highlighting the world government's reach. Luffy tells Soga King to shoot down the flag, declaring war on the world government. Robin screams to Luffy, "Take me to the sea with you." Judge Baskerville fires the mortar cannon to stop the drawbridge, while Spandam drags Robin. Trusting the Straw Hats, Frankie makes a final gamble. Hoping Tom would understand, he burns the Pluton blueprints with fresh fire, shocking Spandam and CP9 as years of planning are erased. With the plans gone, Pluton can now only be rebuilt through Robin's knowledge. As Spandam attacks and sends Frankie falling into the abyss, Kokoro tells the Straw Hats to prepare to jump. At first confused, they understand when Rocketman's whistle sounds. Luffy wraps his arms around the crew and leaps from the roof. Rocketman charges up the drawbridge and launches into the air. Luffy guides everyone onto the flying train, and it catches Frankie on its damaged front. Rocketman crashes into the front wall of the Tower of Justice. Spandam orders Lucci to escort him and Robin to the Gates of Justice, while the rest of CP9 are told to eliminate the Straw Hats. As the crew prepares to fight, Fukaru stops them and reveals each CP9 member holds a key to Robin's Seastone cuffs, but only one key works. Sanji quickly forms a plan. Luffy goes after Robin, while the rest stay behind to fight CP9. Soga King sneaks past sleeping Jabra to steal a key, but wakes him. Jabra transforms into a wolfman, using the Inu Inu no Mi. Suddenly, but the ceiling collapses and Zoro falls into the room, along with a large giraffe. Kaku is accidentally transformed into a full giraffe instead of his hybrid form. Zoro and Sogeking get handcuffed together, forcing Kaku and Jabra to fight them both. Chopper finds them and is sent to get key number 2 from another CP9 member. In the dungeon, Kumadori traps Nami with his hair, preventing her from climbing. Frankie, low on cola and unable to use special attacks, is forced to box with Fukuru. Sanji and Khalifa test their strength, evenly matched. After drinking tea, Sanji demands her key, but she exploits his reluctance to hit women and kicks him across the room. Luffy reaches the bottom of the tower, seeing the whirlpool at the gates of justice. Nami is nearly killed by Kumadori, but rescued by Chopper, stealing Kumadori's key. Sanji suddenly falls, deformed into a doll-like figure, explaining his plight to Nami, who scolds him gently before confronting Khalifa. Luffy almost drowns crossing the ocean, but is rescued by Gonbei and Chimney, who lead him to a secret passage and a steel door. Using Gear 3, Luffy breaks it, shrinking briefly, then returns to normal to chase Lucci and Spandam. Lucci warns Spandam, who orders him to hold off pursuers while taking Robin to the gates. Meanwhile, Frankie and Fukuru fight in the kitchen. Frankie tires from lack of cola, but Chopper arrives, locking Kumadori in a fridge. After accidentally giving Frankie the wrong drinks, Chopper refills his cola fully, powering him up to punch Fukuru out of the building. The battle continues outside, into the ocean, and high above the tower. Frankie finishes Fukuru with his coup de vent cannon and takes the number 4 key. Zoro and Usopp, still handcuffed together, plan to use Usopp as Zoro's sword. Kumadori escapes the fridge and attacks Chopper, who eats another rumble ball. The transformations become erratic, leaving him vulnerable. Chopper, remembering his promise to Dr. Kure, takes a third rumble ball and grows into a giant monster, crushing Kumadori and throwing him from the tower. In Khalifa's room, Nami lies paralyzed as Khalifa bathes. Recovering, she uses Mirage Tempo to confuse Khalifa and Thunder Lance Tempo to defeat her, taking the key. Chopper, still giant, enters Zoro and Sogeking's fight. Luffy catches Lucci in the basement as Spandam escapes with Robin. Spandam accidentally summons the Buster Call, a fleet ordered to destroy the island. Marines evacuate after Robin warns them. Luffy fights Lucci to reach her, while Jabra and Kaku rush to finish Zoro and Usopp before the bombardment. Chopper reverts to normal after being knocked into the ocean by Frankie. Nami unlocks Zoro and Usopp's cuffs. Frankie guides them to try Fukuru and Kumadori's keys on Robin's restraints. Zoro battles Kaku, who uses his devil fruit to enhance attacks. Kaku changes into a larger form with longer arms and legs, gaining advantage. Zoro, angry and desperate, unleashes his nine-sword style, appearing as an Asura deity, and defeats Kaku with Ichibugen. Zoro receives Kaku's key in a joke in victory. Sanji catches up, realizing the last key is theirs. Robin admits her fear of death but trusts her crew to save her. Luffy struggles against Lucci's rapid Shagan attacks. Frankie arrives wanting to help, but Luffy tells him to leave Lucci to him. He needs to go after Robin. Frankie attacks Lucci, but his Takai is too strong. Luffy uses Gear 2 and knocks Lucci away. Astonished by Luffy's strength, Frankie is encouraged to fight. Luffy holds off the transformed Lucci, letting Frankie leave to chase Spandam and Robin. On the bridge, Spandam drags Robin, gloating about landmines behind them. He reveals his father, Spandine, destroyed Ohara, enraging Robin. Frankie triggers the mines, falling into the water, while Spandam laughs that no one can save her. Suddenly, Sogeking fires missiles from the Tower of Justice, hitting Spandam and the Marines, and Robin escapes. Frankie jumps in to block the bullets, receives all the keys, and uses the number 5 key to unlock Robin's Seastone cuffs. Robin thanks him, and Frankie tells her she is free to act. She attacks Spandam with her devil fruit powers. The celebration is cut short as the Buster Call fleet arrives, destroying the tower top and the defensive fence. Frankie warns it's their last chance to escape via the escort ship. In the tunnels, Nami's group run from rising water. Luffy's Gear 2 strains his body, pushing him to the limit. Lucci realizes Luffy is using his legs to pump blood, something only his rubber body can handle. Risking his life, Luffy ignores the danger, furious at Lucci for mocking his friends, while Lucci floods the underwater passage to block the Straw Hats. Marines try to stop Robin but halt as the Buster Call approaches. The Buster Call fleet arrives with 5 Vice Admirals. They can destroy everything except the bridge where Robin stands. The Frankie family rushes toward the gates. Sogeking, blown from the tower, lands near Sanji and Zoro. Meanwhile, Nami's group are caught in rising water. Exhausted, Luffy is attacked by Lucci, then uses Gear 3 to grow his arm and strike Lucci with a Gomu Gomu no Gigant pistol, sending him flying into the sea. He then lands on a ship of the Buster Call, where the Marines are confused and amazed. Lucci, after recovering, returns to human form, showing scars from the world government. Luffy heads to the ship where Lucci is, dodging Marine gunfire. He uses Gomu Gomu no Gigant Axe, smashing the ship and knocking out many Marines. Lucci evades, bites Luffy's shoulder, and attacks in his leopard form. Luffy counters with Gomu Gomu no Gigant Whip, striking the ship's mast. Lucci jumps behind him, kicks him into the ship, and launches a Renkyaku, which Luffy dodges while slicing through the deck. Vice Admiral Onigamo orders the fleet to target Luffy's ship, killing a marine who objects. The ship is hit, but Luffy survives and returns to the tower, shrinking briefly from Gear 3 side effects. Spandam mocks him, but Frankie punches him and blocks Funkfried. Zoro and others struggle in the flooding tunnels, but Kokoro saves them, revealing her mermaid form. Robin and Frankie hijack Spandam's escape ship, with Kokoro jumping aboard with the unconscious Straw Hats. Robin and Frankie thank her as she returns to human form. The rest of the Frankie family and crew escape the Buster Call path. Meanwhile, Nami and Robin, exhausted and surrounded by Marines, fight back together. Robin disables the enemies with her powers while Nami unleashes another Thunderbolt tempo, wiping them out. Elsewhere, Frankie battles Captain Very Good, whose Berry Berry no Mi lets him split into many parts. Zoro steps in, deflecting the attacks, and Frankie finishes the fight with a powerful weapons left. Nami and Robin arrive, and Robin uses Clutch to take down the pursuing Marines. Zoro then faces a masked Marine who ate the Sabi Sabi no Mi, allowing him to rust anything he touches. Zoro's swords are destroyed and he is nearly immobilized, but the enemy is ultimately taken down, allowing the crew to keep moving forward. Usopp yells for Luffy to get up and taunts Lucci to distract him, while a bloodied, exhausted Luffy struggles to rise. Lucci ignores Usopp at first, but eventually confronts him. Luffy tells Usopp to stop, asking if he's crazy since Lucci could kill him, but Usopp tells Luffy to stop worrying. Seeing Usopp in danger, Luffy forces himself up, determined to fight until he defeats Lucci. Luffy and Lucci clash violently, exchanging relentless attacks. Remembering his promise despite his injuries, he lands powerful jet pistol and jet Gatling strikes. Even Lucci's Rokuogan and Tekkai cannot withstand Luffy's assault, and he is ultimately slammed through the wall. A Marine reports over the Denden Mushi that Lucci has been defeated. The Vice Admirals rally the Marines, resuming the fight on the Bridge of Hesitation. The Straw Hats and Frankie hold their ground, but the Buster Call targets a fatigued Luffy. Usopp notices Luffy's plight. The Marines destroy the escape ship. The Straw Hats realize the Buster Call is cornering them strategically, isolating them on the second column while battleships take aim. Just then, Usopp hears that voice again, and the rest of the Straw Hats notice it too, urging them to look down. Realizing it's a friend, Usopp suggests a daring plan: jump into the sea. To their relief, the Going Merry waits below, ready to catch them. Many of the Straw Hats are choking back emotion at being back aboard their ship. Even Frankie is wondering just how she got here after being dumped from his hideout by CP9. Spandam orders Marines to fire, but currents and whirlpools, aided by Nami, block them. Robin uses her powers to break Spandam's spine. Frankie uses coup de vent to save everyone. Aokiji declares Enies Lobby a total defeat for the world government. The Straw Hats reunite and sail from the chaos. Later, they see Iceberg's ship with his shipwrights, but the Going Merry splits in two. Luffy pleads with Iceberg, who repairs it, but Iceberg tells him there's nothing he can do. Iceberg explains that he heard the Going Merry calling out, wanting to sail one last time, so he repaired her enough to ride the Aqua Laguna to Enies Lobby. He calls Merry a magnificent ship that went beyond her limits, but admits she can't return to Water 7. Luffy accepts this and gives Merry a Viking funeral, thanking her for carrying them all this way, as the crew watches in silence and says goodbye. 2 days after Aqua Laguna and Enies Lobby, Water 7 begins rebuilding. Polly and the Gallilaw shipwrights help restore the city as crowds gather at Dock 1 to thank the Straw Hats. Frankie tells Iceberg he burned the Pluton blueprints, and Iceberg reveals his plan to save Water 7 by turning it into a floating city. The Straw Hats rest at Iceberg's headquarters while Luffy eats constantly. Kokoro says the log pose will reset in 3 days. Nami worries about losing their ship and belongings, but the hotel managers return everything. Frankie reveals he used the stolen Bully to buy Adam Wood and announces he will build the crew a new dream ship. A Marine ship arrives, led by Vice Admiral Garp. Zoro tries to warn the others, but gets lost. Garp bursts in and punches the sleeping Luffy, shocking everyone when Luffy calls him his grandfather. Garp is disappointed Luffy did not become a Marine and reveals that Shanks is one of the 4 emperors, powerful pirates who balance the world. Soon, Luffy and Zoro easily defeat Garp's students, revealed to be Kobe and Helmeppo. Kobe explains they trained under Garp to become officers. Garp then reveals that Luffy's father is Monkey D. Dragon, the man who saved him in Logtown. Everyone is stunned, though Luffy remains confused. Robin explains Dragon leads the Revolutionary Army and is known as the world's most dangerous criminal. Garp says he will not arrest his grandson, and only came to check on him and introduce Kobe and Helmeppo. Luffy learns the Marines can cross the Calm Belt with sea stone-coated ships made by Dr. Vegapunk, and Nami overhears that Dr. Vegapunk can even place devil fruits into objects. Before leaving, Kobe tells Luffy about the New World, where the next Pirate King will rise, and they promise to meet again as rivals. On Garp's ship, Kobe suspects the truth about Enies Lobby is being hidden, but Garp ends the discussion. Later, the crew enjoys a barbecue. Aokiji appears to Robin, reveals he was Saul's friend, and says he protected her for 20 years. When Robin says she has found a place to belong, Aokiji leaves an icy X and departs. Called back to the party by Luffy, Robin realizes Saul's wish has come true. She is no longer alone. Shanks boards Whitebeard's ship. Shanks is Supreme King. Haki makes the crew faint as he passes, he apologizes, and Whitebeard sends everyone away. After drinking, Whitebeard comments on Shanks' growth since Roger's death and asks about Buggy. Shanks hasn't heard from him since Logtown. Whitebeard notices Shanks is missing an arm. Shanks says he lost it betting on the new era. Shanks shows a scar from Whitebeard's crew member Marshall D. Teach and asks Whitebeard to stop Ace from hunting him. Whitebeard, angry, says Blackbeard must be punished and throws his bottle. They clash swords, splitting the sky. Iceberg laughs, telling Frankie he never realized his true talent, and that the battle Frankies were just warm-ups for this masterpiece. Kokoro recalls Tom predicting they would become great shipwrights and now sees it coming true. Frankie notes the irony. Tom was punished for building a ship for Gold D. Roger, and now Iceberg is building one for a future infamous pirate crew. Meanwhile, Usopp worries about how to apologize to the crew. At dawn, Nami wakes to good news. A week has passed and the log pose is set. Kokoro explains it points to Fishman Island, deep under the sea, warning that the route crosses the dangerous Florian Triangle. Soon after, Zombai and the Frankie family bring worse news. New wanted posters are out. Luffy's bounty rises to 300 million, Zoro's to 120 million, Nami 16 million, Chopper 50, Robin 80 million, Sanji 77 million with a bad drawing, Sogeking 30 million, and Frankie 44 million. The Frankie family pleads with Luffy to take Frankie along now that he's wanted. Luffy calmly agrees, wanting a shipwright, though Zombai knows convincing Frankie won't be easy. The Straw Hats arrive at Dock 1 to see their new ship covered. Iceberg explains Frankie left a message. The future Pirate King should sail a ship marked by the King of Beasts. The ship is revealed, a large brig sloop with a lion figurehead, bigger than the Going Merry. Iceberg says Frankie wants to go with them, but feels responsible for Water 7 and the Frankie family, so they will have to force him to join. At the Frankie house, the Frankie family confronts him. He refuses to leave. When shown his wanted poster, he thinks they are pushing him away. Someone steals his swim briefs, starting a chaotic chase through the city. When they arrive at the ship, Robin uses Dos Fleur Grab on Frankie, causing extreme pain. Iceberg reminds him of his dream to build the ultimate ship and sail it, telling him to forgive himself for Tom's death. Frankie begins to cry. The Frankie family throws him a bag with his things. Zombai apologizes, saying they only want him happy. Suddenly, Zoro and Sanji rush past, warning that Vice Admiral Garp is coming. Frankie regains confidence, says a great ship needs a real shipwright, and joins the crew, striking one last pose to Water 7 before jumping aboard. Garp and his Marines dislike Sengoku's order to wipe out the Straw Hats at Water 7, but with Admiral Aokiji present, they must obey. As the Frankie family says goodbye to Frankie, the Straw Hats sail away on their new ship. Some notice Usopp is missing, but Luffy already knows. In a flashback, Sanji tells Luffy that Usopp plans to rejoin. Luffy wants to accept him, but Zoro insists Usopp must first apologize for leaving the crew and challenging Luffy over the Going Merry. Otherwise, it would undermine Luffy's authority as captain. Luffy understands and agrees. Back in the present, Luffy pretends Usopp will not return, though he believes they will meet again. Meanwhile, Usopp runs through Water 7, certain the crew will welcome him back. As Nami asks Luffy to wait, Garp catches up. Usopp reaches the shore and sees the ship leaving. Crying, he apologizes for being selfish and stubborn and begs to return. Luffy finally hears him, stops the ship, and stretches his arm. Usopp grabs on, and Luffy pulls him aboard as both cry. The crew celebrates while escaping Garp. Frankie prepares a secret escape system and suggests a name fitting the lion figurehead. Iceberg names the ship the Thousand Sunny, a vessel meant to cross 1,000 seas. Luffy thanks to everyone, though they cannot hear him. Garp attacks with a giant cannonball, but Frankie activates Coup de Burst, using Cola to launch the Thousand Sunny into the air and escape. Across the world, new bounties spread. At Baltigo, Dragon reviews the Straw Hats' wanted posters and believes his son's actions will shake the world government, looking forward to meeting him someday. As the world reacts to the Straw Hats' new bounties and Enies Lobby, Blackbeard predicts their bounties will rise and decides to move before the Marines. In a ruined town, Ace confronts Blackbeard. Blackbeard invites Ace to join his crew, reveals his plan to become Pirate King, and says he will kill Luffy and hand him to the world government. Ace refuses, vowing to protect his brother. The fight begins. Ace easily counters Blackbeard's crew with his Logia powers. Blackbeard admits he killed Thatch to obtain the Yami Yami no Mi, a devil fruit he sought for decades. He demonstrates its power, absorbing and destroying the town with darkness, then releasing it back. Ace attacks again, but Blackbeard explains his darkness absorbs everything, including pain, and allows him to cancel devil fruit powers by touch. He pulls Ace in and strikes him, proving his gravity-like power is extremely dangerous. The Water 7 saga ends with Blackbeard offering Ace a final chance to join him, but Ace refuses, choosing pride and loyalty to Whitebeard. Ace unleashes Flame Emperor, declaring he will make Whitebeard the Pirate King. Darkness and fire collide, and the scene ends with Ace's hat lying on the ground. If you want more recaps like this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and let me know what anime you want to see next.